So this is the intro to scripting. It's probably a big reason why a lot of you are here. If you could get out your Unity project, if you have their own personal PC. If you just want to follow along. All right. Oh, does anyone need an attendance form? Yeah. Okay. There will be the QR code at the end as well, so we can just search that. Alright, so for the overview for today, we're just going to be going over the roadmap for our Flappy Bird project and also doing the introduction to scripting. So without further ado, this is going to be our game plan for the Flappy Bird project. First credit where credit is due. Take a lot of inspiration from this guy, Game Maker's Toolkit. Yeah, he makes a lot of good videos on Unity, but also just games in general, game design, the thinking that goes behind how you design levels, and also just he has a good Unity introduction course. So if you want to check that out as well, I recommend that. All right, so first for our Flappy Bird project, we're going to be setting up the level just with using basic shapes. We want to establish like the skeleton of the game before we put all the organs and the muscles and the meat and the skin, whatever. We're going to use that. We're not going to care about the looks, so I mean it's just going to be literally like white circles, white squares, stuff like that. And it's going to be around 2 to 3 weeks. Then we're gonna implement functionality through code and scripting. I will be, guiding you guys through that. So hopefully you're excited for that. It's gonna take around 5 to 6 weeks. And finally, this is where we add the sprites and where you can get a little creative on the visual side. You can make the wackiest bird, or maybe you just don't even want a bird. Maybe you want like a bear that flies. That's also gonna take 2 to 3 weeks. All right. So. How many of you have coded before or have experience with code? Sure. Scratch. Okay. Does anyone know like C Sharp? Or I don't experience with C Sharp. Okay. All right. So that's kind of what I expected. So a lot of you are probably like. Maybe a little intimidated by C# and just coding in general. Don't worry, this will be very step-by-step. I'll go as slow as you guys want. I really want you guys to understand why I'm writing what I write. So just before we do that, let's just breathe. Just breathe. Let's calm our nerves down. Code is very intimidating, but we need to listen to Ink Sugar by our Atar Kulkarni. Can we give him a round of applause? W song. So if you don't breathe, then you're gonna look like this. That was me when I was trying to figure out by just copying that. But really trying to understand. All right, now let's get into Unity scripting. All right, so. This is what we left off, or where we left off from. Let me jot that. Alright. So, we have our circle and box. We're actually just going to delete these. That was just for, well, don't delete the circle actually. Don't delete the circle, just delete the square. So, we have our square here. It's a circle, we don't know the shapes. And go to the circle, go to the inspector, and go to add components. Don't worry about this. Alright, so we're going to add components, and we're going to go down to where it says new script. This view will probably look like this. Yours is probably going to look like this. Scroll down, there should say new script. Let's click on that. And let's just name this script, let's name it player. just go down to this button and press create and add. And then you're gonna actually wanna, edit the script. So just double click on this, this field right here. And my coding software is just gonna open up really quick. Okay. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. So we're just going to go through top to bottom. These first 3 lines, you don't need to worry about them. They're just like what tools Unity is going to use for this specific script. So that's why it's called using. Let's look at public class new scripts model behavior. What does that mean? I don't know. To be honest, you really don't need to know these. Just know that new script, that's the title of your script, and model behavior is like the overarching what's it called, class of this script. So nothing, what I said, anything that I just said doesn't make sense to you. Don't worry. What's really important are these 2 things: void start and update the methods. So if you're not familiar with what methods are, they're code that is only run when you tell it to, and that's called calling a method. And you can see there's nothing really here. There's just a blank space in the start code, so obviously it's going to be the template. So let's get into what it actually does. The start method is going to be called before the first frame update, which makes sense because it's called start. It's basically whatever you put in the start method, when you press play on your Unity project, the code that is in that method is going to run. So like, let's say you want to set player health to like 3, then you would want to set it right here. Let's say we have a variable called like player health, and then just set that equal to 3. Then when you press play, Unity will run this start method and actually just sets the player health to 3, no matter what the value it was before. Let's go into the update method. That is going to be called once per frame, which is another way of saying it's just going to be called over and over again until the Unity project stops. So this is stuff like you just want to keep it running. Let's say you want to, let's say, here, might be helpful. Yeah, I guess a timer could work here. If you want to like add a second each second in the update, how it works. Yeah, I think a timer is a good example. So start and update, those are your first two methods that you're going to be using in the template. You're not always going to be wanting to use these, but they're good things to use. We'll be using these. All right. So now let's make our bird. Okay, this is gonna sound like very physicsy, but let's dissect what a bird clap is. It's basically just like it's flapping or like pushing air down on it, so it itself can move upwards. So in other words, that means it's a change in the bird's y velocity. So basically what we need to do is write a piece of code that changes the bird's y velocity. So how do we do that? We first need to find a way to access the y velocity of our bird. If you want to see where the y velocity is in the circle, just go to rigid body 2D. And if you remember, this is going to be like our large or huge physics functionality or component. So everything related to physics will probably be down here. So if you go into info and press the drop down, you can see there's a grayed out part called velocity. And right now it's set to 0, which makes sense since we haven't changed anything yet. So we want to change this. But first, we need to let the script know that this component exists. because right now they're like separate components. They don't know that they're on the same object. They want to talk to each other, so we can actually have the script change the velocity. So here, what we're going to do is do what's called a reference. We want to reference the rigid body 2D of the bird so we can access the y velocity and then change it in the scripts. So what that's going to look like is go back, go to your scripts, have this open. Okay, I'm going to try and type with one hand. So just follow along with me. I'll explain this later. First, type in 2 square brackets, and then inside, write serialized fields. I'll explain what that is in just a moment. And then after that, write private, and then write rigid body 2D. The capitalization is very important, so make sure to do that. And let's just call this like bird, capital, rigid, body, 2D, and then semicolon. All right, so there's a lot to unpack here. So let's just go through step by step. Let's do it so you guys can see better. All right, so first, this serialized field is essentially just making it so that we can change this value, or we can reference this value inside the Unity inspector. So if I press save, or remember to press save, guys. Unity will not update the changes unless you press save in the code software. Let's go to Unity. So we're gonna load it. Oh, it's right there. All right. So you can see right here that there's a field called rigid body 2D, and right now that field is set to none. It's not referencing anything, so that's why it's going to say none. But if we take this rigid body 2D, and this is like a huge part of why Unity is so beginner friendly, you can just drag this and then literally just place it there. And now the player script is referencing our rigid body 2D. So we have our first step done. We have this reference, and now we just need to access the velocity of the scripts, or sorry, the bird. Okay. That's just a final thing. Now let's go to code. And now that we have rigid body 2D, let's do, why not do an update? So we want to change the y velocity. And how we're going to do that is, since we have the reference now, we can type in rigid body 2D. So that's our referenced rigid body 2D. And then dot, that's called the dot operator, which basically accesses whatever's in this reference. And now let's write and then we're going to set that equal to a vector, which is basically values that determine like how fast it's going. Vector 2. We only want to make it go up, so we're going to press dot again and typing up. So now we're just looking at how it's going to go up. And then let's just have it be like, I don't know, let's just see what that is. Hopefully I remember how to do this. No. So if it works, it should just shoot straight up. Yeah, that's okay. Alright. So let me also unpack what I'm doing here. now that we have the reference, we're using the dot operator to access the velocity property in the velocity property of the rigid body 2D, which is the circle. We're changing this value right here, the velocity, and if I press play, you should see that it's now 5 because we change it in here. And we set it to 5. But let's say we want to make this like a variable so we can just change it very easily in Unity. Let's just make a variable. And let's do serialized field. Serialized fields. Do private again. And then this time, there's types of variables in code. What we want to use is a float. And let's just call it flat string. And we can just give it an initial value of 1. And semicolon. Okay, don't forget your semicolons, guys. Alright, so now that we've done that, we can just replace 5 with flat string. And then if we save that, go back to our Unity project. There. And then we should see that flat string is now just 1, but we can change it in here, which makes it really easy to go back and forth. So let's say we want it to be, let's see if I can make it 10. So let's just press play, and now it should shoot up way faster than it did last time. Alright, so now we have the going up part of a bird's flap. Now this is really boring because you're not even controlling anything. So next time we're going to implement user input. What that looks like, if you want a sneak peek, maybe we'll put this script up. That input thing looks like is this. So we're going to go over if statements next time, and also how just to get inputs from the player. It's actually pretty easy. You just memorize text. Then we're just gonna put it only if space is pressed. Yes.
Can I see the previous script?
Yeah. Alright, this is a lot of semantics.
It can go down.
Yeah. Oh, there's not. Oh, wait. Yeah, so code is pretty hard. It's gonna be really challenging to actually understand these things, especially if you have like no coding background. But it is doable, trust me. Just look up Unity documentation, search up these
Claudia
terms.
Ramirez, please, Claudia Hernandez, please report to the gymnasium immediately. Claudia, please report to the gym immediately. Thank you.
Alright, so bells ring, you guys can, pack up and hopefully you learn something. Feel free to ask any questions. I'll just be here for a little